to us from Romania and who, in the same format, will present us his Ambulance for Monuments project. Thank you, Eugen.
Thank you. I will need a words to read my notes. I won't be boring, I promise. If I can find them, of course. The Ambulance for Monuments is a Romanian project, which is, we like to say, it's a project of the civil society, because it started from a few experts from the NGOs, which, sorry, I forgot my, started from experts. We have gathered volunteers which saved endangered heritage. So monuments, historical buildings which are in a stage of collapse, pre-collapse, many of them degraded. There are thousands of them, a few hundreds still in this collapse and pre-collapse stage. And we said we cannot wait more to preserve them. It's emergency intervention for historical buildings. These volunteers are mainly students from architecture, archaeology, engineering, art history, and so on. Our project is based on the idea of giving the project on the franchise idea. Actually, we funded a few other NGOs which are taking over the project and running it in several regions of Romania. For now, we are covering 50% of the territory and we are expanding. So each ambulance has its own lorry where we carry tools with which we carry equipments, materials, construction materials, and this is the map which we cover. We, in the Voices for Culture project from 2017, it was a project of the EU, of the Commission, where we joined it. We identified there are 4 actors which should contribute to the preservation of built heritage. And here we actually were inspired by that project. We identified the 4 actors, which on one side is the local community, which is offering free food and hosting us. Then we have the local and regional administrations which are offering construction materials, because most of these sites are in public ownership or in ownership of the communities. Then we have on the other side the experts which are leading the work on the ground. Many of them are also craftsmen. And on the last actor is the NGO, which has a gluing role between all the others and is the initiator of the project. So this is the recipe, the winning recipe of the project. Of course, we have also an approach beyond saving endangered heritage. We are also looking of what we can gain in addition to this. And then we look to environment, we look to the costs, we look to the opportunity. These are opportunities, actually. We do a timetable, a table with headlines on different aspects. The training aspects is very important for us. We use this opportunity to train young experts, the students, future experts, because Romania doesn't have many of them enough, I would say. Then on the other hand, we also look to recycling and upcycling of historical materials, because in our villages you'll find, and yes, we are working in the rural part mainly, we are finding old tiles, old bricks, stones, wood and so on, which we prefer to use. Sometimes it's important that we rather go to the wood, to cut the wood and to learn how to chop it. Then we lose, of course, one tree, but we gain a lot of experience, so we always balance. So the conclusion is that there is no project like the other. There are a few principles, but we look to the opportunity of each side, each project, and use them as vectors for the others. Our objectives are, of course, to save historical buildings, but then we have the training issue, we have we recuperate intangible heritage. Many of the villagers, they know a special technique which we use there, and we keep the diversity of our buildings. On the other hand, we have also an objective of bringing to the site many mayors, representatives of the churches, county council presidents, vice prime minister. They all get on the roof, you'll see later. because we think that if they don't get there, they don't understand why they should actually support heritage. A few of the images, many of them are churches, because they are in public ownership and people care about them still. Why they were abandoned was because of a lack of self-esteem during the communist period, lack of identity. They lose their identity, and it's not happening just in Southeast European countries. It's happening also in other economically developed countries when people lose their self-esteem and identity. So the ambulance can work actually anywhere. We have water mills, we have many other projects. We have UNESCO sites, Dacian ruins, or the citadel of Sighișoara. A few images about training of students, the training component here, identifying the local craftsmen and intangible heritage. We work with the community, which taking a democratic decision, everything we do together and how we approach the interventions. Here you can see them working on the roof. But what is very important is that if we leave this site and if we don't animate it, and if nothing happens afterward, it's not sustainable. And this we're working very hard to bring the community, to make these spaces alive, like you see here in many places, concerts, events, and so on, because we want them to assume. Here you can see the local stakeholders, priests, and like I said, mayors, county councillors who are working very close with us. I want to get back to the slide. Our results are for now, for the last 6 years, we saved 85 historical buildings, monuments. We trained over 1,000 volunteers, and we run this project through 9 other organizations. The last slide is a little bit around also about our result. We got the Europa Nostra Award 2020. I want to share this from Europa Nostra, that the European Heritage Award call is now on the 25th of November. So if you have good heritage projects, please apply. And my last sentence, I want to raise the issue. This was actually a response to poor restoration in Romania. I must admit, some of them have also funded by the EU Commission, by the EU, and I think there's a lot of room to improve this quality restoration. They have been with a lot of concrete. There was a lack of certification for materials. There were many problems which Romania cannot solve now, and our paradigm says we must first save these buildings and not restore or conserve them before we have this capacity in 10 or 20 years. So this is my message. There is the quality principles of the ICOMOS and the European Commission which should be implemented right away in these countries, because otherwise we are losing heritage. Thank you.